Hi, it's Joy, and today we're watching Criminal Minds, Season 16, Episode 6, True Convictions. I am really stressed over the last episode. I've been stressed for a week now, since I was the last one. Reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon, doing this in advance, the edited version 1 week in advance, and let's find out what happened.
Oh, one of the cameras is online.
It's online, but not moving yet. Okay. Okay, JJ. No serious injuries?
Driving or?
It's above.
Bring him home, Emily.
We will. Wheels up.
I mean, I love that moment so much that because she did the little wheels up and then the little eyebrow raise, because obviously wheels up is such a Criminal Minds thing every episode. Wheels up. But my brain is also like, their friends could be dead. I mean, JJ is walking around. She could be bleeding out. Internally, we don't know. We don't know where Luke is. Like, let's not be so clear. But at the same time, wheels up was excellent. I'm stressed. That's Criminal Minds, alright. Polluting the atmosphere one case at a time. Luke was closer because he was behind her.
Wake up. Agent down! We need help!
I just also want to say that they know that Sicarius lured them here. They know that Sicarius likes to watch. They need to have people like patrolling within watching distance right now before he can escape. I know that's because I know he's here watching, but like, it's Sicarius, come on. Also, JJ, you need to go into an ambulance as well, okay? Because you could have internal bleeding, you could have all sorts of problems.
Strong-willed and the masters of their destiny.
He's this close.
James Baldwin.
He's doing the fucking quote, little bitch. Is this Sicarius' backstory of that transition, or just something awful that's happening now? Jesus.
Or as your only living relative, I get you.
Right, so the state actually handed him to this monster. Honestly, being state raised would be better than this kid. Okay, they've both been checked out. They're both okay.
Oh, thank
Good, good,
God.
good.
I called twice. He was warning us to get out of there.
So killing federal agents is too bold even for him. He doesn't want to wage a full-on war against us.
He timed it perfectly, and that means he's
Close by.
We need to fan out, cover as much ground as possible.
So that's why they were stopping and staring, because it wasn't the bomb activating, it was him trying to get them out. To warn them. You needed to fan out last night, for God's sake. I know you were worried about your friends.
Sicarius staged this.
Of course he did.
Benjamin Reyes wasn't suicidal. Anything.
This is where he kept his buried treasure.
Stop touching the car, okay? I know Sicarius is careful and always wears gloves, etc., etc., but there might be wipes down. You might have just put your fingerprints over a fingerprint.
Somebody or something made this guy very good.
Yeah.
We figured that out.
He had his own serial killer trainer from childhood.
Lee, turn that off.
So Lee was his real name. Might even still be his name, I actually don't know.
What's that?
Lie.
Jesus. Kids adapt quick to survive.
Got other uses, but I know his type.
I mean, this boy had, like, this man, as he is now, he didn't really have a child. Like, he could have broken the cycle, he could have called for help as a kid, but his brain was still developing and he was having all this stuff taught to him. Like, this is a monster that needs to be behind bars for life. But he had no chance, did he?
The DOJ needs Reeves to be Sicarius, because if he isn't, this case is still open or on our watch.
What are you trying to say? I'm not gonna shut down this investigation.
Surely, I get that the Bureau want things to look tied up, want to look like they're in control, but they'd actually let a serial killer loose to cover things up for themselves? Like, deluding themselves that, no, this guy confessed to being Sicarius, he's dead now, he was Sicarius, because none of the actual evidence points to that. Like, the guy wasn't too young to have been Sicarius, right? That was the thing they said in the previous episode. Like, surely it's going to look a lot worse for the FBI if in 10 years Sicarius is actually found and, oh yeah, you knew about it the whole time, you just let him
The
go.
Attorney General is...
Oh, is that the sister? They found her. I mean, he's always known, but the confirmation is brutal, isn't it? Even though he's always known, he didn't ever completely lose the hope. Because you can't. The hope can be dwarfed by every other feeling.
Okay, so if that's true, then somehow he persuaded Silvio to confess.
The guy's a master manipulator. But I mean, that would be one hell of a hold on
The
it.
thing is also you're saying here that Sicarius got the guy to confess. Like, you don't know what the police did to this murder suspect. The police often do some shitty things. Not to mention the kind of like, well, if you confess, I promise you you'll get a better deal, you'll get a better situation out of this. And then he didn't, you know, because the police don't actually promise those things. Like, unless you see it in writing. Like, you don't know that he could have been in that interrogation room for 48 hours with no sleep, no food, no water. That's the kind of thing they do to suspects. So people will confess to things they didn't do to just get to go home. They'll be like, can I go home if I confess? And the person will say, yeah, of course you can. The person confesses, now they're on death row. Like, we don't know Sicarius. I mean, I'm sure the show is going to go into the fact that Sicarius is the person that convinced him, and it is very fitting with Sicarius, but just because someone confessed, I mean, I would obviously view that as evidence, but I would always want to know, what was the situation like when he confessed? Did he stroll into the police station and say, hey, I killed my girlfriend? Or was he in an interrogation room for a week before he did?
That is the case that launched her career.
Fuck.
Oh, no, and it's fine.
I mean,
I know, but I
You
don't think
shouldn't-
you should.
exactly, you shouldn't.
Observe. I'll be in the room.
Like, the prosecutor, I'd want to know, like, were they told by the police this is a slam dunk case? Like, he's confessed, or was she involved in getting the confession? Street clothes, I see. He wants to help. Thing is, if they let him go, he's just gonna go back into his one-man mission to stop Sicarius. You kind of, him being around and in prison was almost keeping him safe from Sicarius, because as much as I think Tyler Green is very skilled and very motivated, Sicarius will murder him if he hears he's out of prison.
I'm concerned you might not make the best choices.
Thank you, Penelope, for everything.
He's not gonna make... Why are they releasing him? I mean, obviously I get why they're releasing him, because he did his side of the deal, etc. But, like...
Those faces! My heart! Thank you, universe, for bringing them back, even Luke!
It was taken the night she died, after the police say that you abducted her. We found it among the possessions of a serial killer.
I mean, surely this Poto's existence is enough reasonable doubt to at least delay his execution. Like, for all we know, Sicarius was preparing to go and kill this girl, and then the boyfriend beat him to it. Like, we don't know 100% that he didn't do it at this point. It's quite likely that he didn't do it, but we don't know 100% that he didn't do it, or that Sicarius didn't get him to do it, etc. Like, who knows? But this in itself, this Poto's existence, should be enough to delay his execution, because it casts doubt on the whole case.
It's been operating.
What do you want from me?
The truth. We can help
I
you.
confessed.
Why?
I took that bitch to my uncle's cabin, and I killed her.
This cabin.
Yeah, that cabin.
This is an abandoned house in Ireland. The police never found where Maria was tortured and killed. They only found her body.
Why do I feel like his story, I took that bitch to my uncle's cabin, is what Sicarius actually did? I mean, again, who knows? Maybe this guy also had an uncle with a cabin. But, like, I feel like an uncle's cabin is where he was raised into being a serial killer. So I took that bitch to my uncle's cabin and I killed her, is what Sicarius did.
I just want to die, okay?
We need to look into his confession. Does he feel like he should have protected her and so he might as well have killed her? Like, what is this? But the uncle's cabin, Lee. These are key pieces of information. North Carolina, uncle's cabin, Lee.
Sounds like the first container's a rough draft for the second. What's
Fuck.
to say he stopped at only 2
Mhm.
shipping containers? He could have containers.
Seriously, you didn't need to do that. Wow, your place is pretty.
Penelope is wonderful, caring for someone in need, even though they've not had the best of relationships. This is why he was created. Let's go. Fuck, he was reading Rossi's book.
Lee, let me go. I promise I won't tell anybody what happened.
Lee could have stopped his uncle, but he was so young when his uncle started brainwashing him into being a serial killer.
What's your name?
He just needs to be behind bars for forever. Let's see, someone stabbed him. Did she stab him, or did his uncle stab him? Because if he, like... Yeah. Maria, run! I know she was panicked, but she should have just run. I mean, they are in the middle of nowhere, but she should have just run. He was helping her. Like, yes, obviously he helped abduct her and torture her, and he was, you know, not someone that I would be like, yeah, never tell anyone about. But one time he showed someone mercy. She should have just run. I don't think she'd have escaped regardless, but she'd have had more of a chance.
20 years, that's plenty of time to change your mind. Why didn't Silvio Herrera?
Maybe Sicarius had something on him. Something
Yeah, I suppose actually if the police break you in a cell, you kind of take it back at some point, don't
we
you?
don't know.
When were you going to tell me?
You know, storming in here and shouting in across the room is not exactly very professional. I mean, you kind of think, why should you tell her? But at the same time, she's made risks for her.
On him.
Benjamin Reeves is dead, so what does it matter if
Reeves is not Sicarius.
And also, if you think an innocent person confessed to murder and you helped put him away and he's going to be executed tomorrow, 2 days, whenever, I'd want to know, like, yeah, the guy was a drug dealer. He's not, like, squeaky clean, innocent, like, a saintly man. But he also isn't someone that deserves to die.
more like a conspiracy theory? And you're using that to undermine
sorry,
my
but
entire career?
this woman's career is worth more than a person's life to her. She's a red flag.
Put to death, we lose everything.
Right now, you're going to lose me.
Okay, yeah, I'd rather that than an innocent man get murdered and a serial killer get to go free. Like, honestly, I'm sorry, this woman is a red flag. I get why she's upset. I get being upset in her shoes, but she's genuinely like, I don't care if a serial killer goes free and an innocent man is murdered because my career is in danger. And you deserve better. God, I'm just calling her Emily.
I know Silvio
She's
Herrera
not
is
Emily.
guilty. But if you go all the way with this, it's over.
Yeah, you're putting your career before lives of other people, so it is over, I agree. Don't go back with her, she's a red flag. Unless she apologizes at some point and is like, I can't believe I put my career ahead of lives.
We should.
I did feel like this was potentially brewing between them, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it given the circumstances. Like, in the long run, I think I could be okay with it, but I feel like we need some more time and space.
In this case, I got a fall guy.
Oh, he's thinking me?
Timing's a little fun.
I wonder how his parents died, if the uncle killed them, or if they did just die in an accident or something.
Silvio has lost most of his life trying to protect me. And it's about time I return the favor.
It is. I don't know if he knows a serial killer is threatening him.
Transferred back for execution.
We have proof that he didn't do it.
Help if the original prosecutor withdrew the case.
Do you want
I
me
mean,
to talk to her?
why was this a case that made her career? Like, a guy confesses to murder, so you get him put on death row. It's hardly, like, groundbreaking, if you know what I mean. Like, she didn't have to prove, it wasn't a tricky case, it was just like a pretty slam dunk, guy has confessed. This man killed his girlfriend. He deserves a punishment. Yay, you gave him a punishment. Like,
Convince the governor to stay this execution.
an innocent man.
Tell me what happens when I make that call.
An innocent man doesn't get executed?
Tell me that Silvio Herrera is 100% innocent.
Okay, he is 100% innocent. We have the
Bet my
proof.
life on it.
But I'm sorry, if you was like, well, you know, when he was only like 70% guilty and 30% innocent, I was cool with him dying. Like, I'm sorry, if there's a shred of innocent potential, I mean, I'm against the death penalty regardless, but if there's a shred of, this is a red flag, Tara. I know she's lit you up and made you feel happy, but like, she's a red flag. Her career comes before other people's lives. If there was like somebody who was like, I have a secret on you, she'd kill them so that it didn't affect her career. Like, she's a bad person. I mean, okay, she's not a bad person, but she's a red flag person. You deserve better.
It's been a long time since I've been.
I really did feel like they were potentially growing into this. It's just slightly weird to me given all the circumstances, but
I gotta go.
if Penelope's happy, I'm happy. And they've done a fairly comprehensive background search into this dude. Why he was discharged from the army or whatever, that worries me. But like, if he's doing okay now, she just needs to make sure he's in therapy throughout the relationship, you know? Therapy, therapy, therapy.
I'm under review.
This wasn't your fault. I should have.
Let me finish.
I'm like, I get why she'd need to be under review, etc., because like there was other evidence. But if a guy confesses, I'm sure it's pretty like standard procedure that they just stop looking. Like, the police should, like, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm again totally against. I think they shouldn't stop looking. I think they should tie up all loose ends surrounding the case. But I don't entirely know why she'd be completely under review for this, because the guy confessed. It's not like she At the time, he said, no, it was someone else, it was Cyrus, and she ignored it. And now she's like, yes, back then he said this. You know?
But you couldn't be honest with me about what you needed. And that's not fair.
You were okay with an innocent man dying when there was a slither of a chance he was guilty.
Talk about this at home?
No.
Oof. Tara, you can do better, okay?
Why not?
Like, yeah, you probably should have told her at the
I'm
beginning.
not going home.
But I have a feeling Tara knew that if she called her and said, hey, we're looking into one of your old cases, yeah, it is the case that made your career, her response would be, no, how could you? I'm 100% right. It's so wrong. My career is more important than this guy's life and finding a serial killer. How could you? Which is kind of how she's been acting all episode. I don't like people like that, and Tara can do better. So yeah, goodbye. I'm really sorry for Tara, but goodbye. See yourself out. Don't let the door hit you. And I'll give you a hug, Tara, and tell you can do better.
Have a connection to the name of a single location.
Ooh.
2nd Street. Every single time, whether it was where they worked, where they hung out, where they were last seen, each and every...
The cooling off periods might line up with his children's births. Father by day, serial killer by night.
That's why he's so disciplined. That's how we're gonna catch this son of a bitch. Through his family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just thinking about this place. Even after I went to school.
He turned on a radio.
After I fell in love, got married. Huh? To blame me? I could have had a chance. I could have been different. Nah, you couldn't.
He could have been. He probably would have just been a normal kid.
Our vice is in our blood.
Or did he kill his own? Did Sicarius kill his
Need I
parents?
remind you of the real reason you came into my custody?
So was he just psychopathically broken from birth? He did something to his radio, right? Okay. From that final conversation, I get the impression that Sicarius as a kid killed his parents. Was that a wrong thing to think? I mean, again, I don't know. It could be as simple as like one of those situations where there was an accident because they were picking him up from soccer practice, or there was an accident and he was distracting his parents in the car, and so he blames himself, even though like, it obviously was just an accident and was not a child's fault that it happened. Or he could have literally murdered his parents. Like, mummy and daddy didn't give him the toys he wanted for Christmas, so he killed them. Like, I don't know where we fit in those two things. But the fact that he was like, oh yeah, you know, why did you come to live with me in the first place, would suggest that Sicarius feels guilt for his parents' death. Now, if it was an accident, obviously then that was just an ordinary grieving child that someone preyed on and took advantage of. I've made him into a person who never stood a chance at being normal and just needs to be locked up behind bars for forever. And not being able to control his day and what he does would actually be torture to him, so, like, deserved. Or if he is someone who did murder his parents, then he was a kid who needed to go into intensive therapy, but might have actually just been someone whose brain was not wired in a way that was healthy and needed to be behind bars his entire life, regardless of anything else. The uncle just gave him the tools and made him worse. It could be either one of those situations, and we don't yet have the information. I'm guessing as the team get more information on him, start tracking him down, we will learn what happened to his parents and we'll be able to put some of those pieces into place. But this was such an interesting episode to see the evolution of Sicarius, to see that from a young age he was brought up by a serial killer maniac person and he was cool with it. Which I think he definitely was... I feel like he probably was a little bit psychopathic even as a child, because he quite quickly was like, oh, what's that? Oh, you're destroying the body. Oh, that's cool. Rather than being like, oh, but at the same time, kids do adapt. They are very, very adaptive and they need to survive. So I don't know. We will see which way it goes. But at the end, the uncle fiddled with his radio and it stopped making noise and started just... So was he broadcasting his final moments? Because if that's the case, he, you know, Sicarius said onto the radio that he had 2 girls. He said onto the radio that this was his uncle, that, you know, the real reason you came to live with me, you're the guy from the news, right? So there's enough information there for them to piece together this was Sicarius murdering his uncle. That gives you enough information to figure out who Sicarius is, or at the very least who Sicarius was. I feel like his wife doesn't call him Lee, but I could be totally off on that. Like, he might have an assumed identity now, but that is a lot of information we could get on who Sicarius is/was. Which is huge. And then, like, I think his final thing of family is what gets you killed was kind of his little, like, ha, you're killing me, but I got you, bitch, was kind of like his last hurrah at, like, stopping his nephew. I mean, not because he's like, my nephew's a serial killer and I want to stop him, but more because, ha, you thought you got one over on me, well, fuck you, I got one over on you. Very twisted, very So then we have all of these shenanigans. I'm very, very glad JJ and Luke are okay, and the fact that Sicarius actually phoned, like, I was assuming the phone call was him activating the bomb, not like the phone call was him being like, get out, don't die, because I don't want to kill some federal agents. Very, very interesting, and adds to his psychology. I'm so glad they're both alive. And that Will was like, no, you did try to call me, but like I didn't answer, because I guess, yeah, you don't want to leave a message of like, yeah, I'm gonna die, bye. I'm going to a risky situation, love you, bye. So I forgive her for not telling him, for not like in the message saying what was happening, because he didn't answer. Although actually no, that's the point, that I think on the last episode we didn't know whether or not he'd answered. Like, for all we knew, she was talking to him, or I might be misremembering that. It's not that important. Then we have the case. So this was a very interesting one, because it was kind of like doing a cold case episode, because this was a case that, I mean, it wasn't cold because it was closed, but you know what I mean. Like, something that happened a long time ago. There wasn't an active person running around killing. This was an old case. And the way they found all the pieces. Now, I think, to be honest, as long as Wilson, or whatever her name is, hadn't actually done anything dodgy in her career, the review's not going to find anything, because this was a prosecutor who the police came to and said, hey, we have a guy, he confessed. Or maybe she was there when he confessed, but regardless, it seems like it wasn't like what I was worrying about. This was literally a guy who, his boyfriend had been threatened, so he said, no, yeah, I did it, I killed her, so that they would lock him up and it would all just go away and his boyfriend would be safe. So I wouldn't necessarily blame her for getting that case wrong, because at this point, when he's confessed, and he's given details of a degree, why would you look into it further, if that makes sense? Like, it's kind of pretty clear. Also, is the uncle's name Cyrus? Because that would be interesting. I don't know. Or is Cyrus an assumed name? But no, because Maria had to be the uncle, right? Anyway, like, basically, I don't think she did anything wrong in this case. I do feel like, even with a confession, you should just dot your I's and cross your T's, like, make sure everything's cleaned up. But if it seemed cleaned up, why would you look into her that way? But what I really didn't like in this episode was that from the very beginning, she was like, my career is threatened, how could you? And I didn't get shades of like, you mean I could have sent an innocent man to death row? No, I can't believe it. I would never have done that. You know, if that was her defense, but she never even questioned whether or not this person could be innocent, and his death was imminent, and she was still like, no, my case is, I'm right. Now, to be honest, I'm glad she and Tara broke up, not because I think she had it right, because Tara should have done. Now, yes, I suppose you can argue the one point that Wilson, or what's her name, Rebecca? I can't, brain poke, you know what I'm like. It's the fact that I remember Wilson, I'm calling that a win. The fact that she was, the one point she did have was that she came to the BAU and she, like, Tara called her and was like, hey, can you look into some stuff for us? And then she did it, even though it could have cost her a career. If it had come out, she'd done it. Like, she took risks to help Tara, and Tara didn't even give her the heads up. I do understand that, but I also think Tara wasn't wrong when she was saying, well, if we looked into this case and it was solid and airtight, because there was a chance Sicarius had simply been tailing somebody planning to kill her, and then someone else happened to kill her first. That must happen occasionally. I don't know. But she probably should have called her. That was the one time where she had the right. But all of her, like, how dare you investigate my case? How could you do this to me? Was, like, Tara can do better. Like, maybe, yeah, Tara was in the wrong in not telling her, giving her a heads up. But the fact that this woman literally needed to be 100% certain the guy was innocent before she could risk her precious career, instead of there being like, wait, you mean there's a really good chance I'm wrong? Nah, I'm gonna let him die because there's still a chance I'm right. Goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on your way out. Tara can do better. And so the case itself, I'm glad the truth came out. Now, another huge thing in this episode was Penelope and Tyler. Literally for a minute there, I forgot his name. It came to me in the last second. Now, I have such, like, I don't know how I feel about this, feelings about this, because I felt it coming. With their bickering and some of the moments they've shared, it's been coming for a few episodes now. But I kind of want to, like, go back and re-watch the early scenes where they discussed Tyler. And I think for me, it's my brain being like, this was someone that we were like, yes, he is definitely a serial killing murderer, and now he's going to be with Penelope. Like, is where my brain kind of stumbles, but obviously he's not a serial killing murderer, so I don't know whether, like, when they were profiling him thinking he was a serial killing murderer, whether any of, like, that kind of thing is, I think, is colouring my view of him, because at this point he is just someone who lost his sister and it fucked him up. But I would want him to be in therapy simply because of everything he's been through, and we could try multiple therapists until we find one that works for him. You know, it's not like one therapist works for everyone, but like I think he would need to do some work to simply be a happy and healthy person. But you know, he and Penelope, they bicker, they respect each other in a weird way. Like I think they work. They're weird. I don't really know. So basically, at this point, I don't know how I feel about it, and it's weird. And I think it is purely because it's weird that he was someone we thought was a serial killer, and I feel like, you know, he was dishonorably discharged from the army. Like he might have been honorably discharged. I genuinely don't remember. But like there was like shenanigans in his past, but then he also has got quite a tragic past. So we'll see where that goes. Now the Second Street thing is also, I think, going to be key. Did Sicarius live on Second Street? Did his parents die on Second Street? Why Second Street? But no, this was such a good episode. We're getting some information on Sicarius, both we as the viewer and them as the team, and it's just, all the pieces are coming together. Everything is still so stressful. I don't know whether they yet have enough information to confirm that they haven't caught Sicarius and keep the investigation open, though I still think, like, what, you want to close the investigation to cover yourselves? Like, surely the team needs to do every single thing they can to make sure that the guy they caught was the evil mastermind serial killer. Otherwise, if in 10 years they're like, actually, we just caught a guy, turns out he was Sicarius, the FBI lied to you so that they could keep their jobs. You know, it's going to look worse for you in the long run. Still, very good episode. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon 2 weeks in advance, the edited version 1 week in advance. Thank you so much for watching.